So as I was sitting down to get ready to record this episode of the podcast, I did take a look at the dashboard for my YouTube channel, and couldn't help but notice. You know what? It's been about a month since the last time that I recorded anything. There's a couple of different reasons for that. One of which is actually I got really sick for a period of time. For like 2 weeks, it was crazy bad. Just coughing pretty much like nonstop, like almost like day in, day out, for about 2 weeks. Don't know what it is. I mean, who knows? It could have been some new variant of COVID. I mean, I am vaccinated. I've only got like 2 doses. Like those first 2 doses that you were supposed to get, I did those two. I'm not racing to the pharmacy every time that there's a new booster that they say that you need. I don't know. Maybe I should be, but I'm not. I haven't. I just haven't really made any kind of time to do that whatsoever. So yeah, I got a little bit sick for a while, and that kind of prevented me from sitting down and being able to record. And so, you miss a few things. When you take that much time off between recording, and as it just so happens, one of the things that I have missed during that period of time has been like the entirety of the Edmonton Oilers playoff run. Like all of it. I was recording, like I was talking pre-playoff stuff the last time that I sat down to record, and then I got a little bit sick, and now just like wow, like 2 rounds of the playoffs are done. And we're still in it, but man, I got a lot. I've missed out on a lot of stuff. This means there's going to be a lot of stuff to cover here, and hopefully over the next few weeks I'll be able to find the time to record much more often than I have in the previous month. But the one topic that I'm going to talk about today is going to be the play of Vincent Desharnais. Because, oh my God, what just an absolute unheralded beast this guy has turned out to be for the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, let's not mince words here. He's not our number one defenseman. He's not even our number two, three, or four defenseman. But don't get it twisted. He is a very big part of the reason why this is a team that at times has been able to limit their opposition to like 15 or 16 shots per game. Vincent Desharnais has been a much bigger part of that than I think that he gets credit for. And he does all of that by really just not even, doesn't even have to be, the fanciest or flashiest defenseman out on the ice, because God knows that he isn't. He's just that old school prototype of just the big, tough. I mean, did I mention big? He's a huge dude. Defenseman that just goes out there and gets in the opposition's way. Probably not too dissimilar from from how Kevin Lowe had described himself at times in his 6-time Stanley Cup winning career. And when you talk about unheralded, I mean, when you actually kind of take a look at it on paper, the first thing that you would think, looking at Vincent Desharnais on paper, is that he doesn't really strike you as a guy who is, on paper, supposed to be on this team. On paper, he doesn't strike you as the kind of guy that is supposed to be in this league. I mean, look at where he was drafted. He was a very, very late draft pick. And we're not talking about like late draft picks, in that pre-Central Scouting era where the Detroit Red Wings just walked into the draft every year and just fleeced the hockey world. We're talking about like post Central Scouting. We have a pretty good idea of who we expect these players to be when they go into the draft. And Vincent Desharnais, let's be honest with you, I don't think it would be unreasonable to say that the expectations for Vincent Desharnais were exactly sky high. But there is something that I think that every team that passed on him over and over and over again, and even the Edmonton Oilers, who did pass on him a few times before they finally took him, there was something that they didn't really give him credit for, and that is that Vincent Desharnais he is a learning machine. He seems to get a little bit better every single time that he steps out on the ice. And it's that ability to learn. You'll learn from his coaches in practice. You'll learn from the other players that he's playing both with and against. and learning from his own mistakes. I mean, you know, God knows that throughout the course of his playing career, he's made a few on ice mistakes. I mean, really, who doesn't? But the one thing that Vincent Desharnais seems to do better than just about anybody else out there is learn from them and improve. So while I think that we have, at least for the time being, at least for the time being, we do seem to have found that Vincent Desharnais' ceiling does appear to be like a fifth, sixth, maybe fourth defenseman. They did try him out on that top pairing for a little while with Darnell Nurse, and that didn't really work out quite the way that people had hoped that it would. But I don't necessarily see that there's anything wrong with that, because the one thing that every single NHL team needs, every single hockey team in the world does need, is that they do need a rock solid fifth and sixth defenseman. And that is what Vincent Desharnais has been for this team. And this team is sure as hell a lot better off for it than they would be without it. I mean, and as I said before, I mean, Vincent Desharnais, he is he is a beast for the learning portion of this game. So while for the time being, it might seem that his might for the time being it might seem that his ceiling is as a fifth or sixth defenseman. If he continues to learn at the rate that he has since he came into this league, that is going to be subject to change. The last thing that I should mention before getting off of this topic is that this is actually another one of the things that this team still owes to Jay Woodcroft from his time with the coaching staff. Because Jay Woodcroft was the guy who kind of discovered Vincent Desharnais. I mean, when Vincent Desharnais was playing under him in the AHL, obviously he really saw a lot. When they were down there in Bakersfield with the Condors, obviously he saw a lot in Vincent Desharnais then, and developed the faith in him at that time that this was a guy that we could bring up to the NHL level, and he's really find this diamond in the rough player that every team fantasizes about having, but really they don't come along very often. Not very often, not nearly as often as we would like to see them.